Hi, everyone. Welcome to this video on building agents with AnyQuest. Uh, in this video, we're going to get into how you build an agent. And at minimum, when you're building an agent, the minimum two activities that you need are a start activity. So I'm going to drag and drop that, and then a generate activity. And the way you build agents in AnyQuest, you're kind of dragging these activities from the left panel, and then you just connect them by dragging and dropping these arrows. And so it's a very visual agent building tool. And the start activity is where you provide the instructions on the input that you want to provide to the agent. And so currently the agents in AnyQuest are run manually. And so this is kind of the concept of the human in the loop. The human kicks off the agent. And as part of kicking off the agent, since you want it to do something, you want to provide some input to the agent. And that input is provided through the start activity. And the way you capture that input is through the prompt, where I could say, enter the name of an executive. Let's say I'm building an agent that is going to do executive research. I can say enter the name of the executive, and this generate is where that is then going to get passed. And the generate is basically the kind of brains of the operation. This is where you do your activities. And here, what I'm going to say, let's say, is just for now, I won't do much. I'm just going to do star2. What this will do is basically pass that input as a variable. And so I'm going to click save here. And so I'm going to run this, and I'm going to say Steve Jobs. And when I run it, basically you can go to the activities and you can see the execution. And so you'll see Steve Jobs got passed. And now here, the agent, and this is the big difference about AnyQuest, is that it's kind of a Gen AI first agent building tool. It uses a lot of what I would call Gen AI first thinking. And so I didn't really have to tell it that go do research, stuff like that. I just passed it Steve Jobs, and it automatically went and took a shot at doing research. It's almost like when you're using ChatGPT, and if I was to just go put Steve Jobs, it would be like, you didn't tell me what to do. I assume you want an overview. Let me give you an overview. And so that's something to think about. It really does use that ChatGPT paradigm. Now, obviously, if I were to say, please do research on, then it would do that. So this was a very simple example of passing one variable. Now, let's say I want to pass in the start activity, not just the name of the executive and also the company they work for. So I'm going to submit this. And now when I click run here, you'll notice that the text changes. And now I say Steve Jobs, Apple. And I now run this. And again, I won't do much. What you'll notice in the activities, when I go to start2, you'll notice both of those variables get passed, Steve Jobs and Apple. And again, like previously, I didn't say much. It's going to go do, and it's going to say is the co-founder at Apple. Again, without giving it too much instructions, as you've known, working with GenAI and ChatGPT, it does try to make an attempt to figure out what it thinks you want, and it'll run a prompt and get you the results back. Um, Now, the other thing you can do is you can also pass files and attachments. So I could say enter the name of an executive and their profile. And let's say I have their LinkedIn profile stored somewhere. Now, if I click run and I click add attachments, I can go and upload attachments over here. And let me go find some PDF file. And it doesn't really matter what the PDF file is. Let's say this happens to be what the person's profile is. I'll just click on that. So that's how I pass an attachment. And I could say, in this case, I'll say John Doe, see what it does. So now when we go here, what you'll notice is that in the star2, what it has done is one, it's brought in John Doe, and the other one is it's kind of brought in the text of that PDF file all in the start activity. And then in the generate, it just goes and it kind of makes an attempt at what it thinks you want and then just outputs that. So what you've seen is I can pass a text, I can pass a file, I can pass text and file, and I can pass multiple text items to it, and I can pass multiple text items and multiple files doing this. So that's the first video on how you pass inputs. Uh, the one thing to realize here is that even though I'm saying enter the name of an executive and their profile, when I go click run on this, I could basically say, and if I run this, basically the start will take generative AI, and now my prompt is going to basically go and give you an overview of generative AI. And so this is something to really think about, is that even though you're saying something, if the person chooses to give some other input, it'll still run in process, which means that in the generate activities, you have to start thinking about adding some kind of error handling just in case you really want to control and make sure that the input that is being passed is the input that you want. And so these are all things that you need to start thinking about as you're building and putting guardrails into your agent. So that's the kind of video on inputs. Uh, we'll have a few more videos that then talk about how you pass and handle multiple text, multiple attachments with AnyQuest.